What's going on, my friends? I figure I'd get on here and rap a little bit about whatever's on my mind. That's generally what the case is. If it's on my mind, I'm getting on and gonna rap about it a little bit. Why not? I think that's what it's all about anyway. It either makes for good content, bad content, or just content. But anyway, I've been busy. I think last week or two I've been really busy trying to plan my next year, which leads to my thought of what is very important in music licensing, but really it's helped me with any business that you're in. It's taking this very seriously. One thing that I do is I write goals for the next year. And you might think, it's petty to do that. You don't want to write goals. What's that going to accomplish? It accomplishes a heck of a lot more than you think. Way more than you think. It's something you can look at and have a gauge. Now, mind you, you're not going to accomplish every goal that you have. Sometimes you are. You know, I've gotten as close as to every goal but one, and sometimes every year, and I've exceeded them, which is even more so. When you can exceed your goals, you know where your gauge is for the next year. Like, for instance, I finished this year at 275 tracks, and it was a little shy probably where I would have finished, but I had some time off due to my monstrous neck surgery I had, some months back, which is crazy because the end of March will have been a year since I've had that. And talk about how time flies. It is absolutely amazing. But anyway, I talked about how I spent an astronomical amount for this here iPad that I was going to do music production with, and sitting here for the whole year and hadn't done anything with it. I'm like, no. I got to use this iPad for something. And I'm going to try to get into, because as you know, music production is going into iPads and iOS and stuff as well. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You're going to have stuff like these DAWs and stuff. And I say DAWs, I mean digital audio workstations. Most of you know exactly what I mean. Are going to be having the AU components to these VSTs. You're going to see Native Instruments doing this. It's coming. It's a slow process, but, that's a lot of material to condense into an iPad. But there's a lot of companies doing some amazing things. And it's really, what's on the forefront of it is a lot of the EDM hip-hop type stuff when you've got Beatmaker Pro and you've got ZenBeats. ZenBeats is incredible, by the way, if you haven't checked it out. ZenBeats has a cross-platform you can do for your iPhone, your iPad. You can do it for your Mac Pro. You can do it for a Windows computer. If you buy the ZenBeats one time, Pro, everything, it isn't much. I think it's like $150. You can put it on a PC, Mac, anything, and you can switch the sessions from computer to computer to computer. And it's a DAW, but it's kind of like it's a blocks design, but it's a DAW. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's a sequencer or a DAW, but it's catered to a lot of EDM hip-hop stuff, but you can do a lot of stuff in it. You can actually record audio in it, but I've got it on my iPad. I mean, in January, I paid almost $1,300. This thing's insane amount of money. It's got a terabyte of hard drive in this thing. The graphics are beautiful, and they say the new ones are absolutely incredible. But I'm not buying a new iPad anytime soon. This is just fine for now. I've got the Generation 2 stylus, which is so cool. It charges on the side of the iPad magnetically, as you see. And when you power this thing up, you stick the stylus to it and let it sit, and it connects with the iPad, and you're good to go. But I was looking about getting a new notebook, for some paper, which I keep a little bit around. But I'm like, why do I want to buy another one of these notebooks, which I've destroyed? Not much paper left in it, and have paper all around when I can just do it right here digitally. As I showed you, look at my horrible handwriting there. Isn't it great? But it's, I just jot notes, and what I do is I set goals. Now, this Good Notes 5 has where you can put a cover of a notebook. It's pretty cool. You can print this stuff. And as I wrote music biz notes, it almost looks like a notebook from high school with my horrible handwriting, but I've got lists of things, and I'll show you here that I usually keep track of my track counts for 2022. It's empty, obviously, and each publisher listed and how many I did each month. So I keep up. You might think it's redundant to keep up how many tracks you do, but knowing where everything is at and how many you've got is very important. That's why I took the time and got Composer Catalog to enter on my tracks, so I know where everything is at. I have audio attached, and I can reference that and try to stay on top of that as much as possible. It's important. Make it a routine when you complete a track, so you enter it in Composer Catalog or enter it to somewhere to make sure you know where everything is at. So I've got somewhere along here, I wrote here genres to do in 2022. Whether I do them or don't is another. It's kind of a goal of what genres to do, but I list each publisher, what genres of music that I do for each publisher. And I did not write out my 2022 goals on this. I actually had it typed out, and I put that on my Pages. I just sent it from my MacBook to Pages on here and tape that out, which I know where it's at. It's okay. Doesn't have to be handwritten, everything that I do. But I've got my 2022 plan. And there it is right there. My plan for 2022. I don't even know if you can even see that. But there's my plan for 2022. It's probably backwards if you're looking at it, but you get the point that I write out exactly what I'm looking to do. It's my goals. It's everything to do. You have to take it very seriously because this is something, it's not going to kill your creativity to write goals and treat it like a business, because that's what you want to do. If you love something enough, you treat it very seriously, regardless of however you take it. And I get it. Some people, they don't want it. It's more like a hobby, and whatever floats your boat is all good with me. I'm not going to look at you any other way, any differently, because you don't take it as seriously as a business like I do. To me, I love it, and I've talked about this before. I want to be a composer and feed to these libraries and to the different clients, because I don't want to be a publisher or somebody who's having to sell, because it takes away from your time of composing music. You have to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Now, I'm not saying that people can't be. There's very few people I know who can be both. But those guys I've said before, they're not full-on publishers. They're sub-pubbers. In other words, they're composers that are sub-pubbing. They're bringing in music and they're allotting a little time each month to do artwork and metadata and set all these tracks up. And they're feeding music into a sub-publisher. And that's actually a very good thing. You can't look at those guys, well, they're just trying to make money off someone else's music. They're taking the time, putting in the work to do that. You can do the same if you want to do it, if you have the right connections. The good thing is about sub-publishers, and we'll talk about this later, I think is probably a really cool thing, because these sub-publishers are the guys that are labels that are feeding into big distributors that are getting a lot of placements. And I'm with a publisher right now who's distributing into a company called Spirit Production Music, and I think Spirit's got some big things going on. I mean, I'm seeing my royalty statements now, and it's cranking up. I love it. But they're a big distributor. In fact, I read about the head of them, Spirit, right now. He's been over at Universal as a head. He's been at the Roland Corporation. Guys, some people put a lot of money into Spirit Production Music, and I think there are good things happening there. It really is. It's just another one of those in this business where a lot of these companies buying into and investing into libraries. It's the weirdest thing, but you got APM's owned by Universal, then you have Universal as itself. You've got Sony, BMG. Sony, and my apologies, Extreme. You've got BMG, and you've got EMI. I mean, you got Olay, which is now Anthem Music. You got 6 huge entities in the world, and I may have missed one here, probably missed one. That's great, but all those big ones like Universal and EMI and BMG, if you don't have a ton of music in there, your stuff can get lost. That's why sometimes it's good to feed to libraries that are not as big like that, but they're good. They get a lot of work. And I work with publishers that get a lot of placements. I mean, Jingle Punks is huge, and they get a lot of work, but they're not as big as like Universal. But they probably have 600,000 to 700,000 tracks in their library, if I were to guess. The other libraries I work with, there's another one up there in New York that I work with, gets a lot of placements. They're very good at what they do. They're a team that one of them was a video editor for a while in TV. I don't know exactly how deep into it, but these guys have formed great relationships with people, and that's pretty much what it's all about. I've said this before, that these companies, there's a reason why exclusive is better than non-exclusive, because Companies go to a certain library because they have their own niche. There's a reason why they go to them, and they don't want to hear that music anywhere else. There's a liability issue there. I've said it before. I know it seems redundant when I say that, but I got a lot of people that are going, man, this non-exclusive is the way to go because I can take my music anywhere I want to go and move it around. I'm like, that's a liability. Just remember, if you want better odds at getting new TV placements, you better start thinking in terms of exclusive. I'm sorry to break that to you. And we may talk further about that as time goes on. But my point today, and I didn't mean to get off tangent, is write goals, set goals, write lists of things that you need. Know where your music is at. Don't lose scope of that. Like I'm in a situation now with one of my publishers that I've got notes written down and they're in Composer Catalog. I'm still waiting on sifting through getting these resolved. I've got some that were kicked out for certain editing reasons, which is normal, in a denied pile, and I'm waiting for them because they've got a lot of music to get that done, and waiting for stuff to be approved over here. It's like Jingle Punks. I've got 4 tracks. I'm really trying to get back into feeding in the Jingle Punks and seeing what the litmus test of what they're taking now of what I do, and I think I have an idea, and I'm gonna. If I could get those guys at least 4 tracks a month, that's 50 tracks a year. That's feeding them new content and keeping it going, because what I've already got, I got a lot of tracks with them. I'm getting a lot of good placement. So I'm thinking right now with Jingle Punks is try to get the best quality over quantity with them to keep the ball rolling. I don't want to get that stagnant, but moving forward, I hate to break it to you, but sometimes you're going to have publishers that are going to change hands. They're going to change. They may sell. You may lose your contact, or you may lose some relevance, and that's okay. This is why you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Work with several publishers. Pick 1 or 2 publishers a year to send new music to. Send at least 15 to 20 tracks to those publishers and get them in there. And kind of keep a list of your publishers and what's where, and have a list each year what's relevant, and you'll know over 3 or 4 years if they're getting you placements or not. You'll know what to send more music to. I've got a couple of publishers that I'm not really sending music to anymore because I've had music in there 4, 5, 6 years and they haven't gotten placements, and they're real quiet. It doesn't seem like a lot's going on. I have publishers that I just work on. They just have briefs, and I send music in those briefs, and that's fine because they don't want to take music just shotgun to them all the time. They get so many placements with the briefs they do, and that's fine. That's their niche. That's what they do. It's what they choose to do. You can't take that personally. This is why you have to be very diverse in this business. Music licensing business, it's a very diverse business. It really is. You don't want to, put all your eggs in one basket in this industry. And I think anybody who's successful in this business, much more successful than me, will tell you, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to kind of think outside the box, and you got to always be looking. You always have to be paying attention on industry changes. And it's changed a lot in the last 10 to 12 years with me, and even more so for the people who've been doing it further back than I have. They'll tell you exactly. In fact, I know guys have been doing this since 2002, 2003. They'll say it's just the model has changed. It started out, there was a non-exclusive, and it was easier to get music because there wasn't as many people in it. But it also, when this thing got crazy, almost like the Wild West, music supervisors, production companies, and all these people started going, stop, time out. We can't have this music just everywhere we go hearing the same music, because there's a liability there. If we hear the same music, and especially if it has different names, it's a red flag. They're not going to use it because they don't know where it's been. They don't know where it's coming from. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what kind of trouble you can get into. This is why renaming tracks has been kind of a thorn in the industry side. There's been a real liability there. You got 4 different names, and detection services caught it, and they were from 4 different sources. Well, who did it come from? They have to go and they have to find out from the company who broadcasted it. Sometimes they may find out they didn't come from any of those 4. It came from somebody else, and they don't even know who it came from. Is it exclusive? Is it non-exclusive? They're fighting over who's getting paid for it. You went against your contract. You weren't supposed to send it to this guy. You weren't supposed to send it directly to my clients, and we're exclusive. It was my job, blah, blah, blah. Just all kinds of stuff. I'm just throwing hypotheticals out there, but you get the idea. It's caused a lot of frustration in the industry. Non-exclusive has caused some frustration. So you're finding a lot of publishers now that are getting into keeping things in perpetuity. And I say perpetuity, I think forever. Means this is a part of, you better know what you're signing. I've talked about, and know your contracts, know what you're signing when you do this. But I didn't mean to babble off on different things, but reverting back. Just try to focus if you want to get better at this. Focus on learning the business, learning things, and each year plan ahead, set goals, make lists. I do it, and it really does help. I get a little conflicted sometimes. I'm like, I want to do this, but what do I do now? I got to set up the things I want to do, but I think it's best just to, because you can overwhelm yourself and spread yourself too thin. Just settle down and just get the music done and send it. Just step one, step two. You got 365 days, 52 weeks in a year. No matter how many, weeks in a month, you always have 52 weeks in a year. So in 52 weeks, figure out what you're going to do. They always say there's that 52 cues a track a week. But if you're going to succeed in this business, it's going to take more than 52 cues a year. I promise you, a lot more. I hate to tell you that, but it's not that you're not going to succeed. If you're a singer-songwriter, that's ideal in a sense, and some people can do more. But when you're writing instrumental cues, there's more. Then you may be with a publisher, you can succeed with 52. It's one track a week. Anybody can do that. But if you want to get there and do it right, there's a volume business. It's going to take more than one track a week. But think about this one. Even if you did 2 tracks a week, it's 104 cues a year. Now it's 10 years to get to 1,000 tracks. Let's say you did 4. It's 4 tracks a week. That's 200 tracks a year. 200 a year. 5 years is 1,000 tracks. 5 years. If you take a 5-year plan and you did 4 cues a week out of a 7-day week, that allows you to have a weekend off with your family. If you're looking at it, taking time off. But if you love it like I do, retirement is overrated and you never work a day of your life. So that's just the way it is. You wake up every morning being able to do what you can do, what you love and have a passion for a living. You never work a day of your life. You're probably going to work 7 days a week like I do. Anyway, I'm running time. I've got to get off, but the goal here is set goals, make lists, always be looking ahead. Look at your next year. I'm going to tell you something else I do here real quick before I jump off, is at the end of each year, and I've already started doing it, email each publisher and ask them what their musical needs are for the upcoming year. Just say, if they've got a brief going at the current time, say, I know you have this brief going now, but what is your upcoming needs? Can I just send you music that I have? Continue to do that as time goes on. They appreciate this because they know you're keeping your eye on the ball and you're being proactive on their needs. And this isn't something that's manipulative. This is something that's important. I can't stress enough that you want to keep your eye on their needs as much as they're keeping on yours, because these people are the salesmen. They're getting your music placed. So you're not relevant and you're no good to these people if you're not always checking in, not like every day bugging the piss out of them, but if you're not being relevant by sending them enough music in a year and checking with them and being proactive. That is the most important thing that you could do in this business. So anyway, I'm jumping off. I appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll do the best I can to get on and rap about some stuff. As I said before, I'm not the be-all, end-all, and there's some people that can correct me if I'm wrong and always do. If I know some of you can and will, I'm always willing to learn new things. But if it's helped me, I'm always willing to share it. I'm not one of these guys that's willing to sell you some course that you have no clue as to who I am, trying to teach you a course of something that is just a shot in the dark. I'm just not that guy. But I don't mind sharing what works for me, because we're all in this together. So anyway, have a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.